My stepsister started dating my ex and made sure to bring him to every family gathering. Now she's wondering why her invitations stopped coming. So my mom married my stepdad when I was 16. He had a daughter my age named Britt. I tried with her from the start. Shared my room with her on weekends, let her borrow my clothes, introduced her to my friends. She was never warm back, but I figured she was adjusting. By college we were civil but not close. That was fine. I dated a guy named Nico for about 2 years in my early 20s. It got serious but fell apart because he kept female friendships that crossed lines. I found messages between him and 3 different women that were not appropriate for someone in a relationship. I ended it. It hurt, but I moved on. About 4 months after we broke up, my mom called and said Britt was bringing a boyfriend to my stepdad's birthday dinner. I showed up and Britt walked in with Nico. Arm locked through his. She walked him straight to my mom and stepdad like she was presenting a prize. Introduced him by his full name even though he had been to our house a dozen times when we were together. My stepdad looked at me. My mom looked at me. I did not react. I said hi to him like I would say hi to anyone, and I sat down and ate dinner. Britt watched me the entire meal waiting for something. After dinner, she told my mom she and Nico had been seeing each other for about 2 months, and that meant she started dating him less than 8 weeks after I ended it. My mom pulled me aside and asked if I was okay. I told her I was fine and that Britt could date whoever she wanted. I meant it at the time. Then it became a pattern. Every single family event, Easter, 4th of July, my little brother Jake's baseball games, Sunday dinners, Britt brought Nico to all of them, and every time she made sure I knew he was there. She would sit on his lap across from me. She would kiss him when I was mid-sentence talking to someone. She would bring up places they had been together, and then look at me and say, "Oh, sorry, I forgot you two used to date." She said that exact line at least 5 times. At my mom's birthday dinner, she told the whole table the story of how they got together, and said she had always thought he was cute even when I was with him, but she would never have done anything while we were still dating. She said it like she deserved a medal for waiting a few weeks. Nico played along every time. He would put his arm around her and look at me like he was trying to see if it bothered me. It did not bother me because of him. It bothered me because my stepsister was using my own family events to perform a show designed to make me uncomfortable in my own home. I told my mom how I felt. She agreed it was wrong but said she did not want to cause drama because things with my stepdad were good. My stepdad talked to Britt and she told him I was jealous and could not handle seeing Nico happy. She said she should not have to hide her relationship because I was insecure. He backed off. So nobody did anything. I stopped going to family events for about 3 months. Did not come to Sunday dinners. Did not show up to my cousin's graduation party. Stayed home for everything. My mom called me crying after the 3rd missed dinner and said she felt like she was losing me. That is when I decided Britt was not going to take my family from me. I came back to the next dinner and I brought a friend, a guy named Wes I had been close with since college. He was funny and loud and good with people. Britt showed up with Nico and did her usual routine. I ignored them completely. Not in a cold way. I just gave them nothing. No reaction when she kissed him. No glance when she brought up their weekend trip. I talked to Wes and my mom and my stepdad and Jake, and I had the best time I had at a family dinner in months. Britt did not like that. She tried harder the next time. Told a story about Nico buying her flowers for their 6-month anniversary and looked right at me when she said he never did that for anyone before. I smiled and said that is sweet and then turned back to my conversation. She had nothing. The thing about Britt was that the whole act only worked if I was miserable. The second I stopped giving her a reaction, she had to keep escalating to get one, and the escalation made her look worse. At Thanksgiving, she made a comment about how she and Nico were thinking about getting a place together and said it must be hard for me to hear that since we never made it that far. My stepdad put his fork down and told her that was enough. My mom said she agreed. Jake, who was 15 at the time, said, "Why do you always have to be weird about it?" Britt got upset and said everyone was ganging up on her for being in love. Nico sat there and said nothing the entire time. He never said anything. He was a prop, and everyone could see it. After Thanksgiving, my stepdad told Britt that Nico was not welcome at family events anymore. The first Sunday dinner after Thanksgiving, I showed up to find Britt sitting at the table alone with no Nico next to her for the first time in months, and she kept glancing at his empty chair and sighing loudly, waiting for someone to ask what was wrong, but nobody did. And when I focused on Jake asking about his baseball season, Britt sighed louder until she stood up, claiming she wasn't feeling well, and left early. And it was the most relaxed meal we'd had in almost a year. At my cousin Julian's birthday party, I passed by the kitchen and heard Britt crying to my mom about how unfair it was that she had to hide her relationship because I couldn't handle seeing her happy. And that night, my mom called suggesting family therapy, and my stomach dropped because Britt had reframed the whole thing to make me the problem. So I called mom back the next day and said I wasn't the one who needed therapy for bringing my ex to every family event, and she went quiet with the kind of silence where someone knows you're right but doesn't want to admit it. Jake pulled me aside after dinner a few weeks later and showed me his phone. Text after text from Britt asking if I ever talked about her, if I mentioned Nico, what I said about the whole situation, and he said he'd been leaving her on red because he thought she was being creepy. Christmas dinner. Britt showed up with 3 friends I'd never met and positioned them around the table like chess pieces, then started talking loudly about how hard it was being excluded from family events, how her stepsister was jealous and couldn't handle seeing her happy, how she was in love with someone she couldn't bring home, with actual tears running down her face while her friends comforted her, and half the table watched. And afterwards my aunt pulled me aside, already having decided I was wrong because Britt told her version first and louder and with tears. I left early and spent the rest of Christmas at Melanie's house watching movies and eating takeout, angry and humiliated, but at least not pretending to be okay at a table full of people who thought I was petty. 3 days later, Britt posted paragraphs on social media about family members who can't be happy for other people's joy and people who never grow past high school jealousy, tagging the location as my stepdad's house, and the comments called me petty and immature, so I took screenshots of everything and blocked her on every platform. My mom called crying saying she saw the post and was sorry, then asked if I'd consider talking to Britt directly, and I told her Britt didn't want to clear the air. She wanted me to react so she could play victim harder. Britt showed up to the very last Sunday dinner in February, with a ring on her finger announcing Nico proposed on Valentine's Day, and now she got to make every gathering about her engagement for the next year. My stepdad pulled me aside asking if maybe Nico could come to wedding events but not regular family stuff, and I felt punched in the chest because my one ally was already caving. I called my mom and told her I wasn't coming to any events where Nico was present, including the wedding, and if anyone pressured me, I was gone again with no second chances, and I was done shrinking myself to keep the peace. I skipped the next 4 Sunday dinners and spent Sundays with Melanie and Wes instead, surprised how much I didn't miss the drama. Then Jake showed up at my apartment in his dirty baseball uniform and played me a recording from Sunday dinner. Britt's voice clear as day, talking about how her plan worked perfectly, how she knew exactly how to make me uncomfortable enough to stop coming around, laughing about how easy it was to manipulate everyone into thinking she was the victim, saying she was tired of sharing the spotlight, and now had the whole family focused on her engagement. I finally had proof I wasn't crazy or jealous, and Jake said he was going to play it for Mom and my stepdad because he was sick of watching Britt get away with being terrible to me, and I hugged him because he was 16 and braver than anyone else in our family. I stopped waiting for my family to validate me and started building a life that didn't revolve around Sunday dinners. Thursday dinners with Melanie, a Saturday pottery class where I met new friends, a promotion to senior analyst because I had energy now that I wasn't emotionally drained every weekend. Britt sent a group text to extended family saying some members wouldn't attend her wedding due to jealousy issues, and my phone buzzed with disappointed relatives, so I sent one message saying I was happy for Britt and just choosing not to attend events with my ex present, and my mom backed me up completely. My mom showed up at my apartment looking exhausted and told me she was sorry for not protecting me sooner, that she'd been in therapy, and her therapist helped her see she'd been prioritizing her marriage over her relationship with me. I told her I needed her to actually stand up for me going forward, not just apologize after the damage, and she said she was done keeping everyone happy at my expense. She sent a group text to my stepdad and Britt saying my boundaries weren't up for debate, and when Britt responded with paragraphs of hurt language, my mom replied that the issue was how Britt had behaved for months while everyone enabled it. Jake told me my stepdad and mom had the worst fight he'd ever heard, where mom finally said Britt had deliberately weaponized family events to hurt me and he'd enabled it because he didn't want to deal with his daughter's manipulation. Melanie asked why I needed to defend myself to people who didn't bother getting my side first, and she was right. Anyone who cared would have called me directly instead of believing Britt, and for the first time I felt okay knowing some people weren't going to understand and I didn't need them to. The wedding invitation arrived in a thick cream envelope with a handwritten note about olive branches, and I checked will not attend, sent a polite card and registry gift, and gave Britt nothing to twist into drama. On the morning of her wedding, I drove to the beach with Melanie and Wes, played volleyball and ate sandwiches and went in the freezing water, and mom sent photos from the venue, and I sent back a photo of us at the beach and she responded with a heart saying this looks perfect. 3 months later, things settled into a new pattern. Coffee with mom, pizza with Jake, the 3 of us at restaurants laughing about normal things, rarely seeing my stepdad, Britt, and Nico existing in separate circles that only overlapped at holidays where I'd show up for an hour and leave. I was genuinely happy with the life I built. My chosen family of Melanie and Wes, the boundaries I set and kept, Sunday dinners at restaurants with mom and Jake, and I didn't feel guilty anymore about prioritizing my own peace, because family harmony that required me to be uncomfortable wasn't really harmony. It was just me making myself smaller so other people could be comfortable, and I was done with that. And my family looked different now, but it was mine and real, and that was enough.